we're going to be talking about Connect 211. I feel like a lot of our clients, at least with Site Savvy, do not know what Connect 211 is, and that is kind of what Sky has been pouring his heart and soul into. So maybe it's about time we've told everyone, at least officially in a video, what the heck Connect 211 is. So
Okay.
it is a separate business that stemmed from Site Savvy, and it is now officially standing on its own. But yeah, Skylar's mainly been running it and managing it. So give us your elevator pitch, Sky.
Sure. For this particular audience, I'll give you our elevator history. It's kind of going to
Mm,
make the most sense, and then we'll take just a quick look at it so you can see it, because then it just clicks. And we started working with Washington 211, which is like a statewide nonprofit back in like what, 2017, 2018. And after working with them on their website for a little while, a year or two, they lost their online search engine software, which was kind of a big deal. They have a resource database where people can find help for the whole state of Washington. And they had an online interface where you could find, help for yourself. You could search that database, which is a very cool public service. And the people running that piece of software for them increased the price of it by like tenfold. And so they said, that's a little expensive. And to make the very long part of the story short, we tried to help them find another alternative for quite a while. And we tried a few of them, and they all had fatal shortcomings. So in the end, Tim Sullivan, director of Washington 211, said, can you guys make one? And,
of
you
course.
know, well, yeah, I mean, actually, we could, because we network with developers so that we can do this kind of work. And I'm a developer by trade. So I was like, we could. It's going to be a big project. But when we discussed the scope of the project and how big of a deal this is going to be, they were still on board. And they said, we'd like you to make this open source software so that there's no lock-in, it's community owned. But we also would like for you to make a service that's profitable, that kind of maintains it for people. And that way there's a group of developers that are just focused on maintaining that code base. One of the problems that can arise with open source is it doesn't have anyone to maintain it and it gets out of date. That was actually the problem with some of the other solutions we tried that were open source. They just weren't maintained anymore. So somebody has to keep their eye on things.
Right.
So yeah, we started down that path in earnest. I guess while I was gone in 2019, right?
Mm,
So
yeah.
I think by 2020, certainly we were knees deep in this project, and we've gone through several iterations of it, but many lessons learned. By last year, by 2021, we were ready to go live with a final kind of third version of this product. It was a really big deal, and it worked well, which is just
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
And so, we immediately started saying, okay, it's time to start looking for building out that service part of this whole plan and serving this up to other organizations as well. So I think we got our second client was Nebraska 211, another statewide nonprofit, just right at the end, like a year ago. That would have been December of 2021. So we started 2022 with two clients, just barely. Nebraska had just signed up, and we negotiated Hawaii pretty early after that. And then this year has just been a roller coaster. By
Mhm.
August, we broke this product service off to a separate company called Connect 211. And so you could either say that, the company is like 6 months old. For me, it's really about 12, because it was about the start of 2022 that we started onboarding new clients and flexing our muscles in terms of scaling this as a service. And that has been a very strenuous growth curve. We're ending the year with 11 accounts, including 6 states, Washington State, Hawaii, Nebraska, Maryland, Wyoming, and New York, the
Yeah.
whole state. In addition to some other nonprofits and partners.
Mhm.
So it's been incredible. And then just this past week, we got funding to hire another employee, which we desperately need right now. And so it's growing. it's got some legs. And I feel like we're on a pretty good footing for 2023 as well.
Nice. Um, so you keep saying we. That is not, you know, who has been working on these projects for Connect to
And I
One?
say, yeah, it's a very stakeholder centric business too. So when I say we, there's two levels of it. There's me, Ben, and Chris, who are like the members of the company. And me and Chris do most of the programming, and Ben makes sure that the numbers keep working and payroll is covered and stuff, which has been very difficult for the first few months. This is a pretty tight startup. And then yeah, juggling those numbers. Masterfully done.
I
The
didn't think
second,
about this, but maybe we should have included Chris in this. It's okay. We'll just throw up a picture of him.
yeah, I know he typically doesn't want to be front facing, but that's fine.
Sure,
He's
that's fine.
an utter like phenomenal developer. He has architected
Yeah,
the whole thing from top to bottom.
it's awesome.
Um, the second layer of we is really all of our clients and stakeholders. They are our stakeholders. They're giving us
Right.
daily feedback on how to improve, what's not working, what is working, positive encouragement too. Fortunately, we're lucky.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, we just wouldn't exist without that community. And we're also so heavily engaged with some other adjacent nonprofit software and standards that we use in this business. And so supporting them is, good for us too. And that whole community has, poured a lot of good knowledge and experience and suggestions into our services as well. It's When I say we, I kind of think of that broader ecosystem. There's more than just three of us running this thing.
Can you
I
show
think that
us?
speaks to our yeah, I think that speaks to our vision of our company, though, Skyler, from the very beginning with this, is that we've always tried to build it with other people being at the heart of it too.
Mm,
So,
Definitely
yeah,
people-centric, relational focused, and this is software that makes the world a better place. It just straight up. And everybody says
yeah,
that, and it's often just kind of a corporate slogan. It's like, no, we're literally helping homeless people find some place to stay for the night. I mean, it's
yeah.
critical.
yeah, that's awesome.
Give us a
Yeah.
tour.
Yeah, let's just take a quick look at this. Everybody's like, what kind of search engine? And it's like, as soon as you see it, it just starts to make sense.
Right.
So this is getting tens of thousands of hits right here in the state of Washington. People can hit this from the internet, from their mobile phone. They're going to get some suggestions for the most common needs that need to be met. I need a place to stay tonight. I need help finding housing. I need help affording my apartment or home is a major one. It's probably the biggest one right now. You put in your address, going to help you find your address. If you don't know or you're on a mobile phone, you can just kind of let it auto find you for you. And then it finds you those resources that are in your area to help you. And sometimes these are local resources. Sometimes you have, resources like the locality, the localism doesn't matter as much. You can get programs from another state, like a federal program. Those are here too. But if it's a little more local, like a food pantry or something, you can kind of zoom it in. And then it helps you find and just get in touch with those organizations. Call them, check their website, get directions, even using transit and stuff from Google Maps. Pretty slick. And this client, Washington 211, has really high quality data. They have additional filters that we can use. So we could drill right into like, I'm a homeless person needing rent assistance for housing program. And there's what I can get help from. It's actually a program headquartered down in Toppenish with a office down in Toppenish. So that's really cool. So that's it. It looks
Nice.
simple, but boy, howdy. Getting this data to work effectively is very, very tricky. Suffice it to say that the level of information Google has doesn't even begin to give you the kind of information you need to help funnel people to the correct resource. There's nothing worse than being like, I need help getting a phone number, and then that phone number can't help you. And that's actually the typical story for these kinds of programs. Organizations like Connect 211 have created very complicated organizational systems to help people find exactly the right resource. And then our job has been to step in and help people who don't know those complicated organizational systems very well still find the right resources using those aids without knowing it. There's some secret sauce behind the scenes, but the basic thing is just help people find help using a very particular kind of high quality data. So
Awesome.
yeah. And I'll call out our website, connect211.com, if anyone wants to go take a look at it and learn a little more there, or set up a demo. We're always doing those.
Cool.
Maybe speak a little bit, Skyler, about how much work you have to do to get the data searchable.
Sure.
Because I think
Yeah.
that's something that I think gets lost in the search engine. You're cool typing words, but it took a lot to get it to that stage where it's even searchable. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So again, really all of our best ideas have come from our stakeholders, from the real world people solving real world problems. They tell us what we need. One of the first things that Tim Sullivan at Washington 1 originally told us was, we have to use standardized data formats because this kind of data exists, but frankly, nobody knows that it does. I'll give you an example. These 211 call centers, there's actually 240 of them. They completely canvass all of the United States and most of the Commonwealth nations too, and Canada, which is Commonwealth. And they have really high quality data. They've existed for decades. They have call centers, in total, tens of thousands of people that are interacting with these community programs and resources on a daily basis. Everything from churches to food banks to clinics to, hospitals, government agencies, just everything. And because they're constantly interacting with them, and because they also have organizational requirements to check that data, even the ones that aren't used very often, at least once a year, or whatever that arrangement is for them, typically at least once a year, to verify that it's up to date and correct. That's a problem that most people don't realize just how bad it is. Everybody from those government agencies, like other agencies to hospitals to everybody, needs the ability at some point to find help for someone in a specific community, and all of the lists are outdated. And they don't even know where to go find a comprehensive list for most communities. Unbeknownst to the whole world, pretty much, like these 211 nonprofits have it. And when Obamacare passed and the hospitals started legally being required to go find help for outpatients and things, it created a desperate need for someone sitting in New York to find a food bank halfway across the country in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming, for an outpatient. It's a really hard problem for them to solve. They poured tons of money into standing up new federal databases, like national databases of these resources. And almost everybody immediately discovered just how hard it is to keep that resource data first comprehensive, second high quality, and third up to date. And nobody still really knew about the 211s. They just haven't been getting high profile exposure. So Tim Sullivan said, we have all of this between all of us, but here's the problem. We don't follow any data standards. It's all over the place. Just because the data technically exists, still doesn't mean that someone from New York, can access it in Wyoming, because that's in formats and schemas and different stages of quality and all, and there's just no centralized way to access it at all. So he wanted us to start using some standards, and he wanted us to start helping solve problems of improving the quality. And one of the first huge problems we had to solve was service areas. These places kind of have what you could think of as jurisdictions. And there might be a program headquartered just across the street from me, but if that street happens to be a county line, maybe I'm not actually eligible for that office. I have to go in the other direction further away, to deal with the government program in whose jurisdiction I am. And that kind of high quality geospatial filtering just doesn't even exist, not even from the big government programs, and search engines. So we wrote a microservice that actually fixes that problem by fixing the data. That was huge. That was so much work. And so at the moment, there's only one other search engine on the planet that I know that has done what we do. That's one of the things, so we go to wild lengths with each new data provider to get that data out of their original system. On a daily basis, we do this. Pull it out of the old system that they still have to use for all the other things that it does. transform it into a standard so they get the interoperability, clean it up so that it's high quality, fix the service area so we can actually do service area filtering, and then finally stick it into the search engine to make it filterable. And then on top of all of that, we put it into the world's best search engine software to make it actually a pleasant search experience. And there's a lot of moving parts. So even our own clients often don't know that, like, they think what they bought was a search engine, but really the bulk of our time and effort is going into like working with the data quality and making it better. That's a good question, Ben. That's a lot going on there. Yeah.
Cool. So if we have clients that maybe would be interested in some type of search engine or just maybe an app in general, and they're not exactly in Connect 211, or they're not a 211 organization, what would you tell them?
The types of organizations that we've been working with are all different kinds of call centers, or organizations that help people find help. Pretty much anybody who has a list of resources that goes out of date. We've also talked to Catholic Charities, not just here in Washington, but I've talked to some in other states as well. It's another type of organization that's constantly helping coordinate people finding help. And some of those are really vast networks. So they run into the same kinds of problems of like, how do I help people find the right help and keep this whole database updated? Certain of our projects that we're involved in, open source projects, are actually getting more excitement from state governments, and it has to do with combining all of these different organizations into working out of the same database, so that state governments aren't funding multiple people to like keep updated the same data records. So this is for anybody who has a list of community-based organization services that they need to keep updated, basically, and help make it usable to the public. If that's too abstract, then yeah, it's like 211s, call centers, Catholic Charities. More and more hospital networks are needing these kinds of databases too.
Yeah.
And some of them are actually making their own instead of going to communities. So, you know, that's somebody that needs this kind of stuff. We're helping bridge those gaps between medical and community-based organizations as well for SDOH, social determinants of health. It's a technical thing. If you know, you know. If you don't worry about it.
Yeah. Cool. I know something you had mentioned when
I would
Connect.
say,
oh, it's been lagged. What's that, Ben?
I would say that I was trying to talk. Am I lagging? Is it coming through at all?
Yeah.
Nope.
You are now.
Now you're back. You're back.
Okay. Okay. What I was saying was, I think the other thing to answer your question, Leah, is that we will take that same type of focus to helping organizations that want custom development, even if it's not necessarily a search engine. We use that same type of development skills to solve problems that a lot of times there is solutions out there for, but it takes a custom combination of the solutions to make it work for the organization, whether that's creating a mobile app for them or building those calculators for company title and stuff like that we've done. So
we have a process here, which I really want our customers to know about. And this is the perfect example of it. I mean, in our big picture plan as a company in SiteSavvy, we love working with so many different businesses because we know there's going to be opportunities to find niches that need to be solved. And we can build software services around those, which is an amazing business to be in. But you have to go through the filter on that. You have to determine absolutely that it's a niche that isn't filled. And so like when we worked with Washington 211, we helped them stand up and test 3 different solutions before we all decided, and our client was the one who led the charge on this. They're like, these aren't going to work and we have to build our own. It's almost always better to use a pre-existing solution. And there almost always is one. So, I mean, really a function that we perform a lot of is consulting with clients to find the right software to help automate or improve their business in whatever that, whatever way that is they're looking for. And we can help with that. And if it turns out that there just really isn't one, or, your budget and needs justify building kind of a custom solution, then yeah, we 100% have the capacity to make custom software for people. And, we've demonstrated that in spades and aces now. I mean, it's been good.
I think a really good point to bring up, and I know that we've had a few organizations a little confused about this because, we've worked with organizations that their previous, web developer or whatever would kind of combine the search engine and the website. And we come
Uh,
at it from like, those are two very different things. So can you
yeah,
kind of explain that a little bit?
this applies to both of the things I was just talking about, whether we help you find a third-party solution or we build you custom software. Um, it's a simple engineering principle called separation of concerns. The worst solutions that we've seen in this software space for 2-on-1s, for example, is where people try to make the search engine and the website be the same thing. If it's a website that they turned into a search engine, it's invariably not robust enough and gets very inaccurate results because a search engine is a very specific piece of software that needs to be highly optimized for the type of data that you're searching. The other thing that we've seen is people make an incredible search engine and then try to turn it into a website, using their developer resources. And what that turns into is something that's just wildly expensive for the marketing and sales teams to work with. Like they can't just hop in there and make a landing page for themselves. They have to pay developers literally thousands of dollars per page to go like design something for them. So that's just cost prohibitive for most people and ridiculous. The correct approach is to find the right tool for the right job. And when you need landing pages and something to work, do blogs and a homepage and updates and news and link out to social media, all that kind of stuff, a website is perfect. And Site Savvy just kills it at that kind of work. But when you have something very, very specific with a high payoff, then you go find that specific separate solution that just does that one thing really well. And you're going to get way better returns on your investment for that.
Nice. Yeah, I've realized that that's been kind of a hard thing for a lot of our clients to like separate when we officially do go live with their new website and the search app. Yeah, it's something that we have to reiterate, and I think that's like kind of good to just explain. Like one is like almost like a calculator in a way, like there's a ton of functions, there's a lot going on, and one is just like the visual pretty stuff. It's just like words, pictures, right? But when it actually comes to like digging into data, searching, all of that, that's definitely like its own little thing.
Here's a good example of that principle in just a different way that's maybe a little more like relatable. We've had a couple of clients walk down this path. They're a nonprofit. They start out, they just start out simple and they say, we need to take donations. So we give them a simple donation form hooked up to Stripe and using our existing software. And it's built into the website and it's fine. And then pretty soon they realize like, we need kind of like to manage all of our donors. It's kind of like a CRM, but it's very specific. Once you get into it, a person whose lifeline depends on getting those recurring donations and things, they quickly realize, wow, I need help with this. I need to track the users. I need to find out what time of year to reach out to them. I need help coordinating the campaigns to ask for the money. I need something that's tracking my donations and giving me really detailed reports a little better that are optimized for nonprofits and not just for taxes. And so we help them find solutions like Kindful or Boomerang or Donor Box if it's just the donation part. There's a range of tools depending on the complexity of what you're trying to accomplish. And so then they step in and they say, we're going to take this highly critical part of our workflow and business and put it into a specialized solution that just does that job better and gets us a way better return on our money. And that integrates with the website. And now you're working together. You're keeping the landing pages and stuff, but you're optimizing the parts that get you a lot of value.
That's good. Yeah. Cool. I mean, Ben, did you have anything else to grill Skyler with?
No, I think that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think the final thing I would say is just that we really do a lot that makes us not just a website company. And so for a long time, we've been just a website company, and we've really kind of grown out of that now, I think.
We have a capacity.
And I think this can be a good video to help our clients see that.
Yeah,
and we look at the problems from a very different way. So many people come in just looking at colors and pictures and things like that. And while that's important, the foundation and whatever you're building needs to actually, or we try to build a lot of times too.
100%. Yeah. I mean, hey, we just built some custom calculators this summer for a local title company in Idaho. That was pretty cool based on work we did years ago. And it's structured in such a way that they could continue developing that code and turn it into custom mobile apps. And so we've created kind of this multi-phased plan that's available to them. You have what you need right now, and we were careful to architect it in such a way that it can, give you a springboard for future needs too. So we're always trying to keep the big picture in mind and solve a problem, not just now, but for the long term too.
Yeah, Site Savvy is definitely expanding quite a bit. And actually, what I thought was funny is when Connect 211 really started taking off, you were telling me like, all right, kind of just really going to be working on search engines now. And then almost every client we worked with also wants a website.
Yeah.
Or they want, us to be managing their site and rebuilding it for them. So we've still been very tightly knit with that Site Savvy and Connect 211.
Well, that's because most of those clients had what we discussed earlier. Either a website was a search engine or a search engine was a website, and it was never working, ever. Right. There's not a single instance where that worked out well. And so we just immediately solved their problem, in large part by just saying those could be separate tools.
Right. Yeah. You guys are, oh wait, Ben, you need to tell everyone where you're at right now.
Oh yeah. I am celebrating some nice time with friends and family. So it's been good. Hence the little beach and Christmas tree.
Because that's where you're actually at right now.
I'm going to reiterate that since you broke up a little bit. He is honeymooning in Mexico. Puerto Vallarta. Amazing. So
and
beautiful.
Sky, you were just somewhere too.
We were just in Hawaii. We got to meet our Hawaiian clients, which is so cool. We have, the state of Hawaii.
Yeah, I was jealous of that.
Flew to Honolulu, spent some time there. And then, we're headed down to Puerto Vallarta also in February. So we'll be down where Ben is here pretty soon.
Well, I was in Yakima this whole time. And in February, I will still be in Yakima. Where it's
enjoying the snow.
All the snow, yeah. So I'm glad you guys are getting some warmth. It's great. I'm glad for you.
Yeah.
So happy.
It helps me have connections down there. Otherwise, I'm not sure I could pull it off.
So yeah, I think that was really good, Sky. I feel like you explained a lot of those things, like hopefully in a way that makes sense to the majority of our clients or future clients or whatever. Yeah, so yeah, if any of you guys have questions kind of on the topics that we talked about today, or you really want us to dig maybe further into something in the future, please interact with us, whether it's on Facebook or our YouTube video or Instagram. We'd love to see those and respond. We'll respond to everything, I swear. Yeah, so let's have a good one, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Good.
Thanks,
Merry
guys. Christmas.